good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this content journeys discussion. And I would like to give you some context why we called this meeting today. And we are very happy that you guys are joining us from all over. As you remember, about 5 years ago, we started a journey of digital maturity, and one of the big decisions by our leaders was to really build a robust digital ecosystem. And the heartbeat of that was really creating an ecosystem where countries can collaborate on digital content. So on my screen, Beat is the first one. He's on the phone. I will start with Eric. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do? You are on mute.
Yeah. I am Eric. I'm in Russia. I work on the digital strategies team here, and in addition to leading the team, I'm kind of the person who we do most of our journey planning together as a team. But I'm the person who kind of builds it in and kind of owns the AEM piece of it. So,
thanks, Eric. Ace.
Hi, I'm Ace. I'm from the Philippines. I'm part of the digital strategy team. I help out in the social media and part of the website. Someone's actually doing it, but most of my responsibility is training partners for online evangelism.
Great. Thank you. And Cheryl?
I'm Cheryl Boyd. I live in Dallas, Texas. And as Miharet said, I work with him on the global team. So I'm happy to be here and happy to meet all of you.
Right. And Manuel with the happy boy.
Hello. Oh, I'm Panamanian living in Argentina, serving with group digital strategies. And this is my baby Othniel. And we are today knowing each other. Good to meet.
Nice. Paul from Lagos. Hey, Paul.
Hi, Miharet. My name is Paul Alavi, as introduced. I am with the Great Commission Movement of Nigeria. I am giving assistance to the team here. That's Moses and Yomi.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Basically, I mean to sending. I am mobilizing sending from Nigeria. So we're seeing how we can give support to the AEM and digital world.
Thank you. And I see Anne next.
Welcome.
Anne-Marie.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. I'm with Digital Strategies in Canada, the content strategies.
All right. And thank you. Israel?
Hi, I'm with Digital Strategies here in Fiji. Just building our website and getting things started. And so really happy to be part of this meeting. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. And Sam Prabhu.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
from Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Samsul Prabowo, a web developer, website developer.
Okay, website developer. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And what's your child name?
Keitaro, Jonathan Keitaro.
Jonathan. Okay, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And Valentin?
Hello, I am Valentin. I am from Moldova, and we from Digital Strategies in Moldova. We are at the beginning, and we working now. We're working on our website, and we planning to how to do content strategy, and we hope to in future to have good content strategy and to how to reach people with the internet.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. And Aprim?
Yes, I'm Afrim from Albania. I lead our digital strategies team in Albania, and we do whatever we can. A lot of things.
Okay. Thank you. And Yomi.
I'm Yomi Adinga from Nigeria, and we use our website for electricity and for car. We do a lot of things.
Okay. Yes. A lot of things. Your mic is not that great, but Yomi works in Nigeria, and he's the one working on websites, in Digitus, anything digital you can tell. All right, so Oleg.
Hello. I'm from Moldova too, and I'm working with Valentin and others, and we're working for our national website, and we try to launch it, and we hope that maybe next week it will work.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for your hard work there. I'm seeing your progress there. Great. So let's go to Ladin.
Hi, good day, everyone. I am from Belize, but I work with Crew Jamaica as a volunteer, and I also serve on the Caribbean Digital Strategies team.
Right. Thank you for joining us. And let's go to South Africa now.
Hello, Johan Meijberg here. Yes, I'm coordinating the digital strategies in South Africa.
Great, thank you. The main session with Murray and Angel. I would like them to introduce themselves and lead us into our topic today. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marie Dell, and if you're wondering where the accent is from, I'm from South Africa, so good to be on the call with all of you. And I'm responsible and helping to improve communications in the organization, but also specifically for this session, speaking about content strategy, and I'm helping to think through global content strategy.
Hi, I'm Angel McCurdy. I am from the US and in the US right now. So my role is kind of the product owner of crew.org and creating journey-centric opportunities across all of our digital platforms. So I'm very excited to talk about that today and share some of the work that my team's done and see how we can share that and maybe steal from you guys too. So I'm really excited for today.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we really looking forward to this time. We will give opportunities for questions, and also we will try and manage looking at chats and things. So if you're telling us we're speaking too fast or too slow or whatever, let us know. And we will try, I know Mary shared a slide, a PDF with you with our slides. So we're going to actually be stepping through that. And how I'll work is that I'll just give an overview to some of the basics. Always good to go back to the basics just to remind us, what's the building blocks we work on. And then Angel will speak a little bit about journeys. And then we're going to actually have an opportunity to just give you 6 tips that can maybe help you. And then we will give an opportunity for all of us to, in little groups, to discuss some of the next steps that will help us. And then at the end, Mireille will wrap it up with more time for action points and maybe also a time just to share some of our pain points that we see. So that's going to be what it's going to look like. So let me start by presenting to you. Okay.
Are we on Zoom?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay.
Oh, so you can see the presentation?
Yes, you can
Okay.
put now.
So why is it asking my sign in now?
Or just
again?
X that out.
Thank you.
Cancel.
Cancel.
Great.
We're pros here, people.
Well, we're trying. We're trying.
If you are in a presentation mode, so it will be full screen. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. That should work. Can you all see this presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to speak about journeys together because that's one of the biggest dreams, is to help people move closer to Jesus. And so we'll speak more about that. But let's go back to the basics. What is content strategy? And those of you that have gone to our workshops will know that we really have tried to make it as simple as possible. If you look at definitions about that, some of them are like very tricky, but we simply made it getting the right content to the right user at the right time using the right channel. So that's what we're thinking when we look at content strategy. Now, you will see there are very strong words in there. There's the right content. So that's actually what you're presenting to them. You're looking at the right user, your persona at the right time. When is it timely to present it to them, and then the right channel. So that's just to review. And the next slide is also to remind you that this is the parts that we consider and think through when we speak about an integrated digital content strategy. And so if you have not seen this before, please send me an email that we can set up a call and just speak through it and make sure you understand this. But this is all the parts of really trying to put a strategy together to help move people, well, first to know people, but move them closer to Jesus in their spiritual journey. So please, keep this in mind as we speak about the rest of the things. And then I'm going to ask Angel to speak a little bit more about a journey. So this is where it starts to be quite a fun situation. So let's see.
Okay, so what is a journey? I assume all of you guys have read a story of some sort in your life. So oftentimes, I'll just think of a story right here. There's like this princess, and she's really sad, and she's in a tower. And then one day, something crazy happens, and she meets this prince, and he is able to climb her hair up into the tower. This is the story of Rapunzel. Then they fall in love, they get out of the tower, and they live happily ever after. I just told you a story. But in that story was a journey. There were emotions, there were steps, and it was building blocks to get to the very end. That's exactly what you'll be building. Boom. All right, so here's our best example. So on Cru.org, we found that we had an article called Preparing Your Personal Testimony that did really well. People were really excited to find it and use it. It was one of our most trafficked pages. But we also found that that was the end. There was no next step. There was no easy way for them to find, where do I go after this? So instead of making our audience do all the searching and figuring it out, we decided to connect those dots and tell the story of how to prepare your personal testimony. So if we want to dig a little deeper, we're going to build a journey verbally together right now, and I'll go through that personal testimony and a couple other ones. So for my team, one of the best ways for us to really think about building a journey was simply thinking about, first, who is our target audience? One thing that's really important is if you're trying to reach everyone, you're going to reach no one. So it's important that you really trigger, like you really target down who is your audience. So think about what gender, what age, where are they at in their faith? Are they curious? Are they really content and not really seeking? Are they a follower of Christ? Where are they at? and then what would be their actual motivation to click and read your article. If there's no motivation that you can think of, then your audience is not going to come to that page. So it's a lot of empathy building and understanding who are the people I want to reach. Then it's all about the steps. So first step is you're going to build your journey. Looking at the bottom of the screen, you'll see step 1, step 2, and step 3. Should we look at the chat?
We're just going to stop. Mariette, will you tell us if there's something on the chat that we need to know? Because right now someone is singing. Okay, let me just.
Yes, I will follow up with the chat, and I will share the video as well as the presentation. And if you can also mute your mic, that would be great. Yeah, maybe Angel, if you can go back and say what you were
saying. Just pause us if there's anything on the chat that's like, hey, Angel, you're talking too fast, because that's very likely to happen.
Yep, not yet.
Oh, good.
Okay, great. Technical problem. Let's quickly slide. Good.
And we're back. So starting with step 1, you'll want to do some discovery and understanding what's a piece of content that people will likely want to engage with. So for us, it was that personal testimony. We'd already seen that people were coming to the page. We saw that they were engaged with it. So we knew that there was already motivation for that content. So then we said, after reading this, what would be the next best step for our user that they would want to take? And how are they growing in their walk with the Lord? Because again, if I give them the next best step that's like a super fun, easy to read video or something, but it doesn't actually take them on their journey towards Jesus, then we're still not doing the job that we're meant to do. It has to be motivating, but it also has to grow them in their walk. And whatever their starting point is, if you have someone who's curious about faith, that first step probably isn't going to be knowing God personally. It's going to be, let me answer some questions about Christianity. Then the second step, that motivation is, let me dig into the history. Let me tell you a little bit more. Then that third step could be, okay, we've answered these questions. We've shown you all this content and this proof that Christ is real and good. Step 3 is, would you like to know God personally? And then following that, they'll get an email series. So that's laying out that journey step by step. So if you'll see in these step 1, step 2, step 3, it's extremely repetitive. And what I like to do with my team is just put this on an Excel spreadsheet and have them fill it out. It's going to feel tedious. It's going to feel like, why am I doing this? But it allows you to pause before you start building something to really think about that audience. Once you've got your steps 1 through 3, the other part you really want to think about is, how is an audience going to discover this? Is it going to be because they've got a high SEO, people already coming? Is it because you're putting it on your social media? Are you doing a search engine optimization for this? So you're using really good buzzwords that your Google or your Bing or your Yahoo would really find and put it to the top? Or are you emailing an audience you already have and saying, hey, check this out? So think about that discovery and think about how they would take it from the discovery point and into that journey that you're building. Let's keep going. All right, so I believe anyone who's on AEM has Train and Grow in some capacity, or you have the option to have Train and Grow. So on crew.org, we took a look at our Train and Grow section and we looked at our analytics to see what pages are doing really well. Before we build anything, what's already high on search, people are coming, they're loving it. That's where we want to start from. And back to my journey. So this is where building your personal testimony came into play. So we said this very first article on the far left, preparing your personal testimony, it's already doing well. And based on Adobe Analytics, it's actually showing us pathways that our users are taking that we didn't build. They built them themselves. So the next step was, your story is God's story, and creating your testimony. So simply enough, we said, okay, that motivation's already there. Let's create a next step button, really clear, and say, all right, here's where you go from here. And then we thought, okay, what would really add value to a user who's clearly wanting to learn how to share their testimony? Maybe it's a video of someone sharing their testimony so they can see it in action with the materials that they're using. Once we created that video, we put that on the page, and then we created a helpful hints, just some really easy step-by-step bullet points that they can use. And then the best part, I think, is at the bottom, we put God tools and said, once you get to this point, it seems like you're ready for more outreach, more evangelism opportunities. Here's a tool that we have that we really believe in. We'd like to introduce you to that as well. And then we sent them to the God Tools page where they can learn more about it and download the app. So what we did is we started them on a really simple call to action of reading this article. Then we asked them to go a little bit further and start to develop their testimony, watch this video, take these hints, and then download this app. And you're ready to go and just light the world on fire for Jesus, hopefully. So that is one example based on analytics that we built. So next step is
Angel, before you go, if you go like back to the next one before this slide.
To this one?
Yeah. So can you go through like the categories? We have the big categories on train and grow and all that, like how they are available.
So this is our navigation. And one of the things that's really important to us on Cru.org within the US context is that we use language that any outsider would understand. So when you see spiritual growth, often it's just training. It's Bible study options or things like that. Share the gospel, it's evangelism. But we want to be really simple in the way that we phrase it so people come in. So let me go through. So spiritual growth, take the next step in your journey. So this is Devos, different resources, and then the core truth. So that Cru DNA content. Life and relationships is very simply, it's emotions, dating, marriage, being a man, being a woman, the things that didn't really fit elsewhere that are just being a human on this planet. Our Bible study section is one that we're continuing to rebuild, but it's one I'm really proud of. If you look, we've taken the time to dissect it into solo Bible studies and group studies, and we're trying to organize that more, but that is pretty clearly labeled. Share the Gospels, our evangelism section. And one thing you'll note is we have a train and grow section, and then further down we have a blog section. So we kind of, at one point in time, had everything together. Anything about a Bible study also sat in the Bible study section. We decided to split that up so that if you were coming to train and grow, you were only finding resources. If you're coming to blog, you're finding stories of God's good work. So we wanted to make it really easy for people to find the thing they're looking for. Help others grow, that's our discipleship section. Leadership training is actually primarily movement building on campus, and it may end up changing home on the site, but for now that's just about movement building. And then language resources is where you can find other languages. And that is
thank you. I think why I want you to share this again is because this is the website you are collaborating. So if you are on AM, you have all these categories, and it doesn't mean everything will work in every country and languages, but some of the materials, they are the same. We are the same. We are referring to the same core materials. So feel free to go through them as you build your site. Okay, can continue. Feel free to send your questions, and we will find the right time to really answer them on this discussion.
Yes.
And you can also raise your hand if you really need to speak. Okay, continue.
Next up on the list is another journey example. So one thing that we did, it's been a minute since we did this one, but we thought we want to reach a high school audience. So in the US, quizzes are super popular, and we wanted to showcase just having fun, that it's okay to have fun. On our website, we don't have to be super serious, but we can still tell gospel truths while having fun. So we advertised heavily on Snapchat, which is the platform that our high school age students were prevalent on at the time. And we directed them to this quiz. The quiz is super fun, super easy. It's picking an emoji, describing your friends. But one of the really important parts of the quiz is we asked them to tell us where are they at on their spiritual journey. So we simply said, like, I don't have a faith, or I trust Jesus with my life, or I'm figuring it out. And they were able to self-identify for us, and so we could put them into buckets based on their quiz results. And as a secret, the only question that really mattered was where they at in their faith. And then they got streamed into their results. And so each of the results told them something that was true, that they belong, that they have purpose, that there is hope. And we shared some gospel truths with them. And then we offered, based on what their answers were,
a next step email series. So if their answer was, I'm curious, is we gave them an email series that was targeted towards a curious person. If they said, I'm following Christ, we gave them one that was more about growing their faith. If they said they're content, we gave them one that was all about learning about Christianity, understanding why we believe what we believe. And then each of those email series ended in saying, would you like to take that next email series? So they could, even in their email series, continue to walk those next steps towards Jesus. What was really exciting about this is it was the right content at the right time for the right people. We had over 1.5 million impressions. We had thousands of email entries. We had thousands of people who were just curious about faith sign up for this series. And a really neat thing is in Central and Eastern, is that the right phrase now? Europe, Benny's team took this and had success in their own cultural context. And they continue to do really innovative things because they've seen quizzes work. It may not work for you, but it might. And it's been something that's been really helpful for us in getting people in and then putting them into that next step for them. So that is this journey.
Yeah, so you use the quiz as the discovery part of a journey.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, so if you're not in the US, this won't make sense to you, but that's okay. This is meant to just show you that we can have fun and still tell people about Jesus. So one of the really cool things is one of my team members said, hey, I want to make a quiz about who's your TV dad? Because in the 90s, we had some really good family shows. So what she did is she created a quiz all about different TV dads. It was like, does your dad have a pot belly? Is he skinny? Does he like fruit? Does he like steak? And then you ended up getting a couple of different dads from various TV shows. But this was a journey about fathers and about fatherlessness to kind of tackle the idea of, did you have a dad growing up? Was he good? Was he kind? Do you have a hard time with the idea of a heavenly father? And we addressed all these really hard issues, but we started from a really simple place. And based on who your TV dad is, based on kind of the way that you described him, we brought you into a different type of language to talk about a heavenly father and how you are loved regardless of anything that you've done. But the start of this was something that was super prevalent for our millennial generation. It was super about the US and our context, and it was fun. And so as you start to think about what you want to do and how you want to do it, I would encourage you to think through what's fun, what's engaging, what brings people in, and we can always tie it into God. That's really the cool part about our faith is God's at the hub. So we can kind of find that next step. But this was one I just wanted to showcase because we had a lot of fun doing it and we saw really good results because of it.
Yeah. But again, as Angel say, you have to look in your own context and your own culture. What are those things that people naturally speak about? I'm thinking Johan was making a joke earlier about the Rugby World Cup. Well, in South Africa and in countries that are playing rugby, that kind of thing will be a really easy thing right now to bring people to come in if you ask, oh, who's your rugby hero or something like that. So I'm just giving an example, but it's making it relevant to your culture and using that idea, a fun idea to bring people to discover us and what we do.
Perfect.
Great.
So we wanted to take...
Yeah. One question which is asked is, what tool or tools do you use to create quiz? Where do we get that? So I can answer one, but if you have any answer, you can add on that, Angel. Romania team, Benny, he actually adopted this quiz strategy and came up with the tool. I know it's on a test stage and it's available in a Romanian language and some countries have already used it. But at the same time, there are paid version of that. So we will be, after this call, that is one of the action points. We will be able to send you more information about that.
Yeah, I don't have the name of it off the top of my head, but I can provide that to Miharet. We have to pay for it at present. But one thing that I'm hopeful for is if it seems like quizzes are really helpful for multiple countries, then it's something that we can put to the top of the priority list and have our developers create one in-house. at the time it just wasn't.
Yeah, there is already one actually from Romania. It just needs a final touch and packaging. That's something we can actually follow up.
Great.
That's good. Yeah.
Good.
So it's question times. Any questions? You can even speak. You can also write it on the chat. Any questions so far for Angel and Marie?
Yeah, this is a great time because our template says quiz or questions.
So, Niret,
yes.
Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I come back with my question? Did you see it?
Yes. Okay. What's your question?
The difference, because many national team leaders asked us if we can build the national site web for them, so that if we can have some difference between the content digital journey and the national site web.
Okay, the question I see here, thank you, can we do difference between the CCC National Staff Web and Digital Content Journey? So if I understand your question, are you saying like to have a national staff web for your staff in the country and another website for anyone you are ministering to? The difference between the two? That's correct?
Yeah, I think if we can build the both or just one, I need to understand.
Okay. I think, Beach, if I try and answer that, I think what is maybe not always clear is that, for example, crew.org is actually our national site, because we have on it all the spiritual content for users in the country, but there's also sections to it that speaks more about the showcasing of our ministry, telling them more about the different MCCs and that kind of thing. So the way you want to think about it is, people are not looking for a brochure. They are looking for a place where they can get help. And so when they know about Campus Crusade or Crew, they will go to our site. And so we need to think about ways to both speak for, for them to maybe find some of the things they are looking for in terms of the ministry things. But we really, actually, the main reason we want to have sites is actually to have content that can help people to grow spiritually. Yes. And so it's a very fine line there, but to help speak to our leaders, to explain this to them, to say, remember, people come to our sites, it mustn't be confusing to them, and it must be, like Angel earlier explained, very easy language, not our internal MCC and all our abbreviations. It must be words that a normal person can understand. And so I think that's what we need to listen to.
Yeah, I think he has also the other side. Thank you, Mary. He's asking, if I'm understanding, also about staff web. Like when we are creating this national ministry websites, like Nigeria, for example, they requested, like, how do we do now our internal communication for staff and, reimbursement and staff, communication and all that. So we didn't do a massive global rollout for, individual country-based staff web yet, but we are trying to do something now on globalstaffweb.com. I'll write that on the chat. But definitely, when we really develop our muscle to serve our users, that is the first priority we have at this time. We will come back to helping also countries to have a good template where they can start their stuff with. If there is a capacity at the national level right now, you are free to build something which will work for you. But at this time, we are not promising or promoting that the same way we are doing the other one. All right, there is another question for you too, Angel and Murray. You mentioned Snapchat as a discovery platform for users to start the quiz. Have you done something for Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook?
Yes, yeah, we've done for all three of those. For, again, everything I'm saying is for a US context. So for us, we found that Facebook and Instagram do really well. If you build up your audience in Instagram enough to have 10,000 followers, you can actually even apply a swipe up. So in your stories, you can post something and then they can swipe up and go to your website. But if you don't have that, you can also say, just check the link in our bio. But Facebook advertising covers Facebook and Instagram, and it's the most intelligent advertising tool there is right now. It allows you to really target your demographic, your gender, your age, your location. You can kind of really file it down. I think it takes a little bit of practice to understand who are you searching for, what are their interests, because you can't just be like, I want a Christian guy who's really excited about crew. That's just not going to happen. But you can start to hone that craft. Twitter for us is not a super popular site. It's kind of maintained. People engage in terms of like they consume content, but they don't do much. So we tested a few things, but it didn't do really well. Other platforms we found that did okay for us was Pinterest. No one's really advertising on it, so it's pretty cheap to advertise there. And at least in the US, people are really, it's a lot of moms. Moms are really using that platform to find recipes and outfit ideas. So really pay attention to where you can advertise and what platforms your audience is on. So if you want young people, it may not be Facebook, it may be Instagram. But yeah, they've worked really well for us. And we've got some tools in Digital Academy that help you with advertising.
Yeah, I will open also for anyone who will be interested. Anyone who tried the quiz strategy anywhere on your website or social media, we'd like to hear from you. Okay, no. And I know also
I can share briefly, but not a ton to add. I mean, we've done a similar used a similar strategy. It's a real easy way to get, especially through social, to get engagement from your social channel into your website, and then to offer a next step. I mean, that's the thing that we found. You know, as Angel mentioned, you know, in the quiz, you let people map themselves on the journey grid, and then you give them a next step that's appropriate to them. One of the things that we found is that we originally developed our quiz looking at our spiritually curious persona, and it was kind of developed for them. But then we reran it on our, and we ran it through advertising. So we were spreading it pretty wide. Well, then we reran it just a couple of weeks ago on our social channels, for both for the ministry at large and also for the campus ministry. And whereas when we'd first done it, almost all of the people who went through, I think only 10% put themselves in the follower category, and most of the people we're offering a next step to are from our spiritually curious or unaware categories. This time, 80% of the people who go through it, when we do it through our social channel, are followers. And so we kind of took a step back to recognize, okay, first of all, the audience that we want, the audience that we're engaging, are different things. And actually, the next steps that we're putting in front of people, this was primarily designed for the curious, and the followers are an afterthought. But there's actually a lot of engagement no matter who we put it in front of. So kind of the whole thing of needing to think through which audience are you presenting it to, and making sure that you have the right next steps that you want to offer them. I mean, I think even thinking through the next steps that we offered to our follower was basically, hey, what does it mean to grow, and how do I grow in my relationship with Jesus? But actually, we could have probably been a little bit more intentional in terms of saying, okay, are you a follower? Are you a guide? Are you what are the right things and the right opportunities to connect you to? So I think the way that we designed it initially, and then the way that we use it on different channels, probably needs to change, because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Thank you, Eric. That's great. Mary, before we go to the next tips and session, I will invite Marlon Adamson, our everyson.com and Starting with God founder, just to share with us also a little bit. We just chatted on the chat section here. She's willing to share with us like what journeys looks like on everystudent.com ecosystem. Marlon.
Thanks, Mehret.
Yeah.
Let me do it by just sharing my screen. This will be easier.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay.
Okay. It says I can't while other people are.
Yeah. I think Mary stopped her. So
you think it'll work?
Yeah. If you click share, it should work now.
Yeah, it's not. Okay.
Try now one more time. I changed something on my screen.
Okay.
Is it the website or you have a presentation?
Yeah, if not, Mehret, you could pull it up and I can just say it. How's that?
Okay.
Go to everystudent.info. And the first section that is what it's about.
Okay.
And quick overview. And then just scroll down the page so you see all the email icons.
Okay.
If you would.
You are seeing it on the screen now? I am sharing my screen.
Okay,
When
let
you
me go
guys
back
see,
to.
Can you put your thumbs up if you are seeing my screen? Okay. Yeah, the screen is showing now, Marlon.
Okay. Click on quick overview. That first one. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then scroll down. Thank you for your help, Mehret.
Yeah.
And then right there.
Yep.
Okay, so we start with speaking to non-believers through everystudent.com. And then when they become a believer, we want to give them basic follow-up. So the question was, what do they need? Now that they've received Christ, what do they need? And so they need to know that their relationship with God is secure, that they're forgiven, that they have eternal life. They need to know about fellowship, about God's love being unconditional. So we pack a lot into that. And then at the end of that, once they understand they have a relationship with God and that He's not going to leave them, then it was, well, now what do they need to know? And typically, as somebody is growing as a new believer, it's easy to begin to feel like you have to perform for God. You've got to be sure to avoid all sin. You've got to be faithful in prayer and Bible study. It can become a real pressure. And so we built another series called Skip the Stress. And it's all on the spiritual life, living under God's grace, how to trust God, let Him change you, that kind of thing. So at the end of that, I was thinking, well, what do they need now? What does that person need now? And I thought, I don't know how much they know about Jesus. And I don't know if they know anything about reading the Bible. And so built an email series taking them through the whole Gospel of John. It's 36 emails long and the scripture's right in it. And it just gives the scripture, asks a question. They don't fill anything out and send it back. It's just for them. But it gets them in the habit of noticing what scripture's saying. And so that's going to help them their entire Christian life to build that habit. So at the end of that, I was thinking, now what do they need? And I thought, well, a lot of people are wondering, how do I explain this relationship with God to somebody else? And so built the series, How to Talk About God. And it's I don't know, 11 or 15 different emails, giving them different ways to share the gospel with people, to have conversations, even ideas on particularly blending it in with what they would normally do on campus staff or city staff, how they can blend digital with their live ministry. And then at the very end, because all of these series are coming from the same person. So I wrote the English, so they're hearing from me. They'd be hearing from Tabo in Spanish, they'd be hearing from Vitali in Russian, and on and on. And because they've been hearing from this person, there's a trust built, and there's personal relationship, because when they write me, like I tell them, if you have a question, go to everystudent.com, but many times they'll hit reply and say, you're the only person I trust asking this question of. Here's what I want to know. Or they'll write to thank me. But either way, I'm responding to those people also, just like Tabo is when they write him, and so on. So at the end, I thought, I don't really want to totally end this relationship or helping them. So I built a series called The Findables. And on this one, I said, this is going to require a commitment from you. All the others are just free. This is also free, but I'm going to ask you to take faith steps. And so I said, this is for people that want to make Jesus findable to millions. And if you're willing to do things about that, then join the Findables. And I named us. So there's now 2,600 Findables around the world. And I think Tabo's working on something similar right now in Spanish. So the idea on all of these was, what do they need next? Where is this person at, and what is their greatest need right now? One of the things we have found, these were all done as email series, but a lot of people aren't using email. You know, a lot of students, for example, in student-led movements, they may be on WhatsApp. So right now we're in the process of building these so they can be sent through WhatsApp. We have it in text message in the US that we're testing. So the best use of that is next week, Chris Sleeth is going to Pennsylvania, and he's training some of the campus directors. And as he trains them, and when you're on campus and you personally are talking to someone and they receive Christ with you, you can have them text this number and begin the spiritual starter kit through text, so they can do it right there with the person and make it fast. And that's what we're seeking to do right now, is to get it into WhatsApp and Telegram and text message and that. So that's in the works.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marlene. This is great. And at the same time, even on your any digital properties, like, for example, our God Tools app has embedded some of this email series. And crew.org on Train and Grow, there is the email subscription link. It's one of the call to action. If you need more steps about, spirit-filled life or skip the stress, they will be subscribing. So the same is true for your ecosystem, our audience today. If you need to put some of this material on your website or apps or any digital campaign you are doing, please contact Marlene and she will be able to work with you. And the text messaging, Telegram, WhatsApp, that is very exciting. And once it is finalized, we will also bring it up to everyone in the ecosystem to use that. All right. Thank you, Marlene. If you have any question for her, you can also send it through chat. And we will move on now to the next session with Marlene, with Marie.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, Meryl. That was great to share that. I think when you speak about the next step, that's exactly what a journey is. It's like, what's the next step? And so that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I want us to just take some time now to sorry, to actually divide ourselves in groups and go through this part where we just spoke about, basically I will call it 3 different kinds of journeys. The one is existing content where people are already going to things. Go look and see, can we connect the dots and give that next step in the journey? So that's the first thing. The second one, as Angel was speaking about some of the quizzes, those are marketing journeys, specific journeys that you make a plan, you start putting it together and bring people to your site at some point.
That most likely involves some paid advertising.
Yeah, that's good. The third one I mentioned is something, and in some ways, one of those marketing ones that she spoke about with the high school is in conjunction with one of the MCC groups or strategy teams. So you might want to think about it. I know, for example, if I'm correct, I just heard that in Poland, over the Christmas time, the digital strategies team and the global church movement, the church planting group, they will be doing things together using digital tools over the Christmas time. And we've heard in other areas that they've used digital and church planting over the Easter time. So maybe think about journeys that you can plan with other MCC groups. And now I'm going to ask Mireille to bring you into little groups. And then as you were thinking through some of the things you heard, the low-hanging fruit of looking at your most visited pages, or thinking of some ideas to do some marketing journeys, or working with other MCCs, share in your group 3 things that you think you can do to test some journeys before the end of the year. So I'm not saying in the foreseeable future, I'm saying before Christmas, what are some things you can try to do? So Mireille will divide us into little groups, and so have a conversation with one another.
Yeah,